Welcome to the Expert Knowledge series of video interviews and seminars which explores the art and practice of strategic change management from the perspectives of subject experts and practicing consultants. My name is Dr. Scott Gardner, a postgraduate and executive educator in the broad field of change management. I have studied and facilitated change in organisations based in the UK, Australia and Southeast Asia for over 20 years. Through this series of interviews, I hope to blend the very best of theory and practice by talking to consultants with deep expertise in the design and delivery of change interventions. Specific areas to be explored include information and communication technology, human resource management, knowledge management and organisational learning, organisational development and organisational transformation. Throughout the course of these interviews, we'll also tease out essential consulting skills for internal and external change agents, and how to manage successful management or professional services consultancies. Today we are fortunate to have Tom McKenna in the studio. Tom is an experienced computing and information communications technology consultant. He has extensive experience in developing and executing ICT-enabled transformation and development strategies. Tom, welcome to the programme.
Thank you, Scott.
Tom, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how this led you to developing a deep expertise in information systems consulting?
Quite a strange background, Scott. I started life in the shipyards in Port Glasgow. To describe it, there was basically 4 miles of shipyards continuous. I looked out my window and I could see 4 miles of shipyards. Unfortunately, in 1980, early 80s, all the shipyards were closed. So I started life as a ship's draftsman, building oil rigs. When the shipyards closed, I started travelling other construction yards in Scotland. The construction yards in Scotland started closing, so I got into computer-aided drafting initially, and then learned a bit of programming to do material takeoff from the drawings. Moving on from that, I learned SQL programming, Oracle, and Unix system administration. So it allowed me to start combining and linking the databases into the CAD systems in a more powerful environment, Unix rather than PC. So it just opened it right up. So when I started as a draftsman, we had basic big long drawing boards, and if we were lucky, we had an electric eraser. Ooh, it was great. Didn't have to wiggle at it. So for me, it was just a way of doing things better. But from a personal point of view, watching the shipyards close and basically 20,000 men get made unemployed in a town of about 100,000, the town's never recovered. So it's setting me an agenda that I've got to learn. I've got to keep moving and moving on with my skills and my development. So after that, I went and did a postgraduate diploma in computer engineering, and then did a master's at Napier University in Edinburgh. And Napier's, it was a sandwich course, but it was more based on strategy. So I had a good level of computing skills. Yes. And being a good techo. But then matching my business background, having worked in different organisations, starting the really bad one, the shipyards. I suppose that's a good thing. How not to manage a company, right through to working for Shell, Woodside, and company like that, how to manage excellently. So with the Masters in IT Strategy, it allowed me to understand how top companies manage IT and the strategies you implement, how to implement IT to get strategic benefit from it, rather than just a lot of organisations I'd worked to up until that point, it was just, they were just playing with the technology. Put a wee program in here, or I'll get a CAD system running up and running, and only a certain amount of people could use it. This gave you the opportunity of how to plan enterprise-wide technology implementation, so you're going to basically transform a company, you know. So yeah, so
that these technologies have evolved significantly in the last 15, 20 years.
Absolutely, we were talking quite a few years ago. I'm not a spring chicken, Scott. Yeah. But yeah, so that was my background, and basically I was always in an engineering capacity, particularly right up to the time with Shell. And at Shell, because you're in an engineering capacity, you carry a lot of weight, in the sense that if I could come up with an idea, I had excellent credibility with technology, I would get rubber stamped for funding, basically. And even if the corporate IT would come at me, saying I was maybe doing things wrong, not following corporate standards,
Yeah.
I had the weight of engineering to say, no, we're doing it. So that worked well.
So a rare combination of hands-on engineering skills starting at the fundamental level,
Yep.
design, operational skills, and then moving slowly into more of a strategic information technology focus.
Absolutely. Probably the best way to describe it is that my apprenticeship was spent a year in the training centre, a year on the tools, and only then were you allowed to get into the drawing office to learn to be a draftsman.
Yes.
Because you fundamentally had to understand how to build an oil rig, because if you don't know how to build it, you can't design it, because it's probably one of the best training I've ever had. Unfortunately, the organisation was badly managed, but for a personal point of view, the people and my peers, we got an excellent training. So from there, I used a similar concept when I started in computing. I learned how to program, I learned system administration, and built the building blocks from there upwards.
Yes.
So then at Shell, I transformed the whole engineering systems, the knowledge systems and plants, and that's how I wound up at Woodside. They had sent people over to look at what I was doing.
Yeah.
They'd been trying a similar project for a number of years, so I wound up at Woodside. And at that time, John Akehurst was the CEO. He was really frustrated with IT, and he wanted someone with a business background to come in and business manage IT, for want of a better word. So and then I spent some time at Woodside. Being a change agent, I found out you can only stay in a company for so long.
Yes.
Lasted 5 years, and then I set up my own company, Conan Group, that I then consulted from back to Woodside and other companies. I went, for a broad example, St John of God Hospitals, Clean Heat Gas, audited the tax office in Canberra, you name it. I went right across all disciplines and to diverse industries, basically using the principles that I'd learned through my time with Shell and Woodside.
Because the literature tells us that there's, IT-based change or ICT-based change is high impact, positively or negatively, and of course there's a lot of celebrated failures of major enterprise-wide systems and other IT interventions throughout the 90s and the 2000s. In your opinion, what would you say the potential of IT is for organisations to improve their performance, and then some of the typical limitations you've encountered with the implementation of these technologies?
The basic potential is limitless, and you look at today, nanotechnology, we've got the web, mobile computing, Wi-Fi. I mean, the world is our oyster. We can almost do anything with it. What I think, and personally the issue is in any change, it comes down to people.
Yes.
As I have an interesting background, I've worked as an internal consultant and I've worked as an external consultant. And one of the things that really sticks in my mind is that with Shell are very, very keen to use consultants. But Shell's view of it is that Shell must own the strategy. Shell has a 30-year company strategy. Within that, inside all the business units, 60 different countries, within the 60 different countries you get business units, that's decomposed and workshopped to the level that this business unit is clear what their direction is, what the outcomes are over the long term, and then to break that down into 5-year, 2-year, 1-year plans. That is then decomposed into personal KPIs, to divisional KPIs, to team KPIs, and to personal KPIs. And it's very, very powerful in the sense that you're clear that you're in this organisation and you know what your role is in this organisation. And so when a change comes, in that environment it's very easy to explain to people why we're doing this change, because we've changed the outcomes for this division or this group, and this requires these new processes, these new technologies.
And it's clearly linked to a strategic rationale.
Absolutely.
Which is tied into scenario work and tied into strategic planning work.
Absolutely.
The line of sight is there.
Yeah. You've touched on a really good point, Scott, that when you look at companies, how they plan. In my experience, organisations that are very clear have a clear vision, have a mission, they have clear corporate direction and key performers. Then they break that down into strategies to achieve these outcomes. It's very clear where that organisation is going. And in most cases, organisations that are clear in their direction have clear processes, clear services, and that breaks down into accountabilities, responsibilities. So everybody in the organisation understands what they're doing, and they've got job descriptions, KPIs for their job and that sort of thing. It's a good way to be. And for an employee, although it's frustrating sometimes working through that. Now I've been leading teams of people, significant numbers of people in the team, they can't, I don't know how my KPIs work and that sort of thing. You've got to help them and nurture them through it. Once they get it, it is a very empowering thing that they know why they're in that company. Whereas unfortunately, in my consulting experience, I've worked in a lot of organisations that don't have that directions. They haven't, in many cases, they're lucky to have a 1 year business plan. They've never got to the point of doing scenario planning with a look at 5, 10, 15, 20 years ahead. Because it's outside their mindset. No? I was involved in a project with WA, it was a number of years ago, where we were doing a 20-year scenario plan for all the infrastructure, transport infrastructure for the state. We were given 40 businessmen, and they were sort of our team to then develop and establish the scenario plan, basically, for want of a better word. And it was going to be written up in a white paper. We had a considerable amount of difficulty getting the mindset into these people that they could look that far ahead. Now, to myself, who'd been involved in similar scenario planning, both outside at Shell and that sort of thing, it was very matter of fact. But outside the kind of larger global organisations, I'm sure within BHP and organisations like that, the people would be familiar with that. But when you get down to sort of the middle tier company and then sort of small to medium sized enterprises, that skill set wasn't there. And one of the fascinating things for me was, before I came to Australia, I did some research, and I found out that per head of population, Australia and the working population had the highest percentage of MBAs than any other country in the world. This was going back a few years when I came here in '95. But yeah, I thought, wow, these people are really educated, MBAs, business management. But when I get into consulting, I was amazed at how little planning, strategic planning, was done in companies in Australia. It blew my mind. I thought, wow, where's all these MBAs going? So looking back over in answer to your question, when a company doesn't have direction and they try and bring in a new technology, and it's driven either from a technology point of view, this is a great new system that will allow us to improve productivity, save 15% of people's time.
And the vendor, of course, will sell it on that basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's not a clear business plan. They've got the influence over, say, a senior manager for whatever reason.
Yes. They
get behind it. The vendors all over entertaining the powers to be, that sort of thing. Then guess what? It gets signed off. Yeah? And then when it gets signed off, they come to deliver it. Now, if this organisation hasn't a clear direction, there isn't clear processes within the organisation, there isn't clear accountabilities, responsibilities for doing the activities, when you come in and try and change that to a new model, it's nigh on impossible, because you're then trying to explain to people, this is a new model, this is the benefits, but the benefits are vapour. Because if you don't understand what you're doing originally, and you can't baseline the organisation at the start. And in these
Yes.
types of organisations, it's impossible to baseline because there's not clear processes, it's not accountabilities. You can't do resource levelling. How many people, man hours does it take to deliver these services or this process? It's hard to do benefit analysis on that. So what happens is that they will come up with a half-baked business case, half-baked plan, and off they go. And guess what? It fails. And it fails for the organisation, it fails for IT, and IT gets a bad rap.
So, to summarise, if they haven't got in place a well thought through business plan linked to a longer term vision and strategy, it's much harder to actually realise the benefits from the perhaps the very expensive technology that they've
Absolutely.
put in place.
They may get some spot sort of step changes in some specific area,
Yeah.
but my experience, I'd almost guarantee you when they try and do it enterprise-wide, it will fail. It won't work. They will get absolutely nowhere near the benefit that they expected because it's impossible to quantify benefit in that type of organisation.
Mm.
And it's a great phrase that I wish I could remember who said it originally, but one of my peers used to say it is failing to plan is planning to fail.
Mm.
And it's so true. If the organisation isn't planning where it's going and how it's going to achieve that outcome, and breaking that down into programs, streams within the program, projects, and then clearly assigning resources against these projects and activities, then it will fail.
Mm.
It's all about, quite often you get when I've been in meetings when people throw up benefits and all that sort of thing, the classic ones, everybody will say 15 minutes a day. Great, 50 minutes a day, so that means they just go and have another coffee. And they get all upset. Well, so, okay, fine, I hear what you're saying, and my answer would be, well, tell me, so 15 minutes, how many people have you got in your area? Say 100. You add it all up and say, well, so you're going to lose 3 people a year. Before we start this project, give me the 3 names of the people that are going to be either reallocated, and people got all upset and all that. No, I can't do that level of detail. Well, they said they're winning experience. If you can't meticulously detail how this project's going to be done, how you're going to realise the benefits, and how them benefits are going to affect the bottom line of this organisation, i.e. improving service quality, reducing costs, increasing customers, then I'm sorry, it is not a benefit.
Mm.
A lot of people think saving time and making it smarter and all that sort of thing, making the internal experience for the employee better, which I'm all for, but if that doesn't affect the ultimate customer of the organisation, then I'm sorry, it's not really, why would you invest in it? No?
Mm.
Maybe I'm a bit cynical, but you remember I come from a background where I watched an organisation be badly managed when 20,000 people got unemployed, gone. My hometown decimated. So maybe I'm a wee bit more focused and a bit more rougher than some other people, but I know what happens when a company goes wrong. No, for me, everybody used to say in our town, oh, they'll never shut the shipyards, it would decimate the town.
Mm.
Well, they did shut the shipyards. So I've seen the worst side of it. So my view is that you've got to manage better, you've got to focus on what the organisation's about. And I just see IT as a lever you pull within the organisation. Because when the IT is putting up its business cases, it should be put up alongside, we want to put on a new process unit on the plant, it's going to cost us $90 million, whatever. Well, the IT project should just be lined up. And the organisations looks, what's the best outcome from all of these projects, including IT, that's where we spend the money. IT in the past, and a lot of organisations now, sits off to the side, and they make cases to the side, whereas that's when it fails, because that's when you spend a lot of money, and the organisation doesn't realise the benefit, and everybody starts going crazy on IT, you know? So IT's got to basically, and to be fair, a lot of organisations are doing this, and it's certainly over the last 5 years, it's got to be part of the organisation and live as part of the organisation. Now, on the opposite side of that, organisations need to have IT reporting into the board level or senior manager level, not 3 levels down,
Which is rare. Yeah.
which is rare. You look at BP, BP had the office of CIO, reported straight into John Brown. So John Brown, a good friend of mine, worked at BP, came out of his office one day, he says, look, I'm in 60 countries globally, I'm up all these hours, I want the facility of being able to walk out my door as if I had all my CEOs in my office. And that was the sort of question he gave to the then head of CIO of BP globally. His team worked on it and came up with video conferencing. So at any point in time, they can video in, and as a management team, they could contact. Now this has gone back a few years. Video conferencing is a matter of fact now, but this was done in 92, 93, you know. So when the IT reports into that senior level, they're given the company problems and asked to solve them. How do we fix this? No? Whereas IT's way down here somewhere, level two levels down, 3 levels down from the management team, they're getting second and third bits of the cherry.
So obviously elevating IT to the level it's got a seat at the executive table, ensuring that IT is treated as an integral part of the organisation's operational and business planning. What other lessons would you take from the various projects that you've worked on over the years in terms of if you were giving some advice on the role of IT in the organisation to make it truly strategic and realise the benefits that the actual technology can potentially bring? What are some of the other points that you would make on that? How do you integrate IT into the
Well, number one is IT needs to manage itself as a business, which means that IT needs to be accountable for every dollar it spends. There is ITIL, the IT Infrastructure Library, which is worldwide recognised standard for...
And you've had a fair bit to do with that, Tom.
Yeah, I've been around ITIL for 20 odd years now. I've also, in version 2 of ITIL, the highest level of qualification was manager level. And in version 3 it's expert. So I have had the manager level and also expert level in both. But on top of that, I used to teach it. I was one of the people, I think I can't remember how many, 100 or so around the world that was teachers at that level. So not only did I was a practitioner, I used to teach the top level practitioners. And how I got into that was I was looking for how do I, as an internal IT manager, how do I make this IT organisation better? Came across ITIL, I thought, wow, the answer is here. So what it does is it makes IT look at itself, says, what is the services we deliver this organisation? It can be like from email, PC, operational networks and all that, whatever. You can have it as basic or as complex, but what you do is you map out as, well, this is what we deliver to this organisation, and then sitting behind that, what are all the configuration items that we need to deliver email to this organisation. Now this organisation can be global, it works at all levels. I've worked at organisations with 6 people in the IT department to organisations with hundreds in the department. So what it does is you look at the services you deliver, you look at how you interface with the business, and then from that you work back, what do we need to deliver this service? And that includes resources, configuration items, it goes right the way from the service desk to release management, change management, the whole gambit of managing IT.
It's a framework which helps IT integrate themselves into the business and make a substantive connection to all the key areas of the business, if you like, and have a plan for engaging with these parts of the business, which can then be pulled together under the under a one master document, if you like.
Well, it's one master plan, because what you do is once you've got you implement ITIL, you've got your service plan for the year. So what you look at is you look at the business plan for the year and say, what services do we need to deliver over this year to achieve this business plan? And then through the methodology and the underlying processes, you then can decompose that down into your people resources, the skills you need, types of equipment, what changes we have scheduled for the year, IT upgrades and all that. Okay, will these upgrades help us achieve what we need next year? No, is there anything else we need to do? So you wind up with a plan, including the services, including all the changes. You need resources, and ultimately, this is the budget we need to deliver this, the IT services you need to as an organisation. Now, where it becomes really powerful is you go back to the senior managers and you present, and this is where a bit of an issue comes. If you don't get to the senior manager level, you're hitting the lower level manager, you don't get the impact you need, because what happens, you go back with a plan and you sit in front of the senior managers and they say, oh, 60 million is a figure. Oh, we're not giving you 60 million. Great. You then roll out all the services on the table and you've quantified the budget for each service. And you say to them, okay, tell us what you don't want. Okay, I want to save that 10 million. Okay, you've just lost the wide area network to all the gas plants. Oh, I think they want that, we'll keep that. You just be like, want rid of that? Oh, all right, you've just done away with the process control for the gas plant. Oh, okay. And you work your way through it. And ultimately, the CEOs of the organisation, they're accountable. If they want to choose to get rid of the wide area network, that's their role in the organisation. I use that as a bad example. But at some point, they may cut something. But then you can say to them two things. Do you realise the impact of this reduction? And they say yes. Okay, would you communicate that to your senior managers, and would your senior managers communicate?
So this is why it's really important to deal with the CEO or an executive level operator who has got the capacity to make the decision.
Correct.
And can allocate the resources accordingly.
And more importantly, and this is equally more important, is handle the flashback that comes. Because quite often when you go back and say, we don't have the budget for this, the senior managers, or the mid-level managers start beating up on IT. Why are you not giving us it? We have no budget. They can get very vitriolic in some occasions. So when the senior managers go back and say, we're not getting it, they don't shout back at the senior managers. There is no comeback. And the senior managers, look, they may have one moan, but that's it, it's over. Get on with it. Work around it. So what happens there is that for me, the senior managers are doing what they're paid for. They're accountable for running the organisation. Yes. They make the call. When
so they're not abrogating accountability, as can happen where the consultants take the flag. They're fully accountable for the decision that's made and therefore supporting and implementing.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it's not so much the consultants; it's the internal IT organisation.
Yes.
When you don't have that, IT goes into sort of bunker mentality. People are throwing stones everywhere you go. IT people are getting abused and harangued by the business people in the line of business because they believe that IT is not giving them what they want. They don't understand that IT doesn't have an infinite pot of money, and therefore and this is a double whammy. They then go and complain to the senior managers, and the senior managers come on giving it to IT as well. And by that point, you've lost the debate. So this is why when I'm working with organisations, and a lot of it is organisational development I've done with IT departments. Yes. When you go in and say, look, guys, you need to get a grip of the situation by running yourself as a business. You need to implement something like ITIL. Oh no, we've never implemented before. Oh, and they give you all the woes of what's happened to them. I was like, sorry, can I be blunt? You get what you deserve. If you can't defend your budget, if you can't defend it by clearly stating the services, clearly stating the resources, both people and technology, and the budget you need to deliver that, then I'm sorry, you get what you deserve.
If you were setting up that business again, or you were advising someone else in setting up a business in the ICT consulting space in Australia today, what advice would you give them?
Number one, I would say they should read James Collins' book Built to Last. It looks at how organisations, visionary organisations and what they call comparison organisations manage themselves, and it explains in detail through research how visionary organisations work. I won't get into the detail, it's all in the book. But basically in visionary organisations they maintain the value and the core of the organisation. That never changes, but everything else is up for grabs.
Yeah.
So they won't throw out the baby with the bathwater, for want of a term. They know what the core of the organisation is. Like for example, Shell is an energy organisation, but they're not going to start manufacturing microprocessors. It's not their business. Yeah. Whereas organisations who are not clear on that can start jumping all over the place and then wind up not being able to deliver well, just don't have the capability to deliver this new idea they've had. No? Also within consulting in general, people is what you're dealing with. So I would strongly recommend that the people who are going to drive this organisation and the people within the organisation need to have excellent communication skills. And that includes facilitation, being able to facilitate workshops and any other environment comes up.
So internal change facilitators to some extent.
Yeah, but I'm even looking at simpler skills. A lot of your work's going to be done within a meeting situation. You may have called the meeting or someone else calls the meeting. But to understand when you call a meeting, you need the objective of the meeting clearly defined. You need to clearly understand what that outcome is. And thirdly, you need an agenda that's going to drive you to that outcome. So as the facilitator of the meeting or the chair of the meeting, you can drive that. But quite often you're going to be in a meeting where you're just a participant. So you need to learn how to chair a meeting while you're part of the meeting. It's very subtle. Because if you don't, you'll wind up, as I've been in my early days, in meetings with clients, wasting hours and hours in meetings and getting nowhere. Yeah. So it's a very, very simple skill, and one of the things we do in a lot of organisations is we go and the first thing we do is teach meeting skills to all the people we're going to deal with. So they understand.
So it's part of the client engagement process.
Yeah, everything's done in meetings. So that simple skill of communication skills, of being able to drive the meeting and get an outcome from a meeting it's invaluable in many ways, no?
Tom, thank you very much for your time and your insights into the practice of change management and IT consulting.
You're welcome, Scott. Thank you.